Hi guys, hi YouTube family. Welcome, or rather welcome me, because I'm the one who's been off from these streets of YouTube. I'm gonna get straight into it because I know you cannot wait to hear this gist. You came for the gist and you're gonna guess the gist. Okay, I just recently graduated and I feel like this is the best time for me to do a reflection of my experiences in uni and share it out, so whoever's experienced the same thing can relate and find comfort in this. Or if you're going through the same thing, you can have an inspiration and maybe learn from my mistakes, learn from my experiences, and do better. I always say, if my videos can help even one person, then I'll be satisfied, and honestly, I mean it. So take what you can from the video, and whatever you can't use, don't take it. So like I said, I've recently graduated from uni, and honestly, that's all I can do. Just breathe a huge sigh of relief, because this is a moment I was looking forward to and it felt like it was so far away. I was in uni for 5 years. Yes. The course that I was doing, biomedical science, is typically meant to take 3 years, but I took 5 years. I'm not stupid, I promise. I'm not dumb. It's just the way things worked out. Somehow I ended up graduating this year, and looking back, I wouldn't want it to happen any other way. I feel like everything just aligned so perfectly for me this year, and it felt like everything was meant to happen the way it happened this year. So I'm super grateful, and I'm just glad that that's a chapter that I've finished. But before I get into my experiences in uni, I'm gonna give you guys my brief academic history, because honestly I feel like I've come from so far. And I'm not saying this to seem like I'm some success story. I'm successful in my own right. Personally, for me, looking back from where I started to where I am now, I feel like I've overcome quite a lot and I've dealt with it really well. Yeah, so I'll start with primary. If you're new here, you should watch my previous videos. You might get a gist of, my life if you're interested. But I grew up in Kenya, so that means that I went to school there, and I went to primary school in rural Kenya. It was actually a boarding school. And just saying that brings back the worst memories of my life. I'm not even exaggerating. And I'm not even trying to bash the school that I went to, but it was extremely difficult. We didn't deserve to go through that as kids, what we went through in that school. I'm just gonna be honest, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, because it was hell. It was horror. We had to shave our heads. We had to wake up at 4 in the morning and go to bed at 10. If I remember correctly, was it 4 or 5? I think 4 or 5. Still not enough time to sleep. I'm sorry. No, that's cool. It was just suffering. Mateso. In my language, you say mateso. Ilikuwa tu kuteseka. I know people usually say that, oh, this school shaped who you are because it toughened you up. But some toughening up is just unnecessary. It's just unnecessary trauma. Do you know what I mean? I feel like this will be a whole separate video just talking about my time in this school and what I went through, but that's not the point of today's video, so I'm not gonna get into it. But you get the gist. It was hard. Okay, it was really hard. Anyway, so I finished that, thank God, after, I don't know, 10 years. Okay, it wasn't 10 years. I was there between 10 to 14, but it felt like it was 10 years. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating it, but I don't know. Remembering at that time, no, it was really hard. Anyway, so I went to high school, and high school I also went to boarding school. It was slightly better than primary. It wasn't as bad, but it wasn't the best still. After that high school, I went to a different high school for a bit before I moved to England. And when I moved to England, life was grand, and I was, okay, lies. I bet you think I'm gonna say that, that when I moved to England, everything just magically became okay. No, it didn't. Also, I went on to do my A-levels, and yeah, that was another hell, a different hell in England. You have hell in Kenya and hell in England. Listen, I think I should write a book one day of my experiences, just so, because when I think back on it, yeah, why? What was the reason? Okay, with England, obviously, if you compare life in Kenya and life in England, obviously life in England is a bit is better, but I was still trying to readjust. I was trying to readjust to the culture. I was trying to readjust to the curriculum and the environment and whatnot. I used to do really well in Kenya, and I loved sciences. So when I moved to England, I went to a science school, and my performance started dropping, obviously because of so many factors. I don't know what happened, because I know what I'm capable of, and I know how much I love sciences. But at this time, my performance just really went under. And even at some point, because of different things that were going on, at some point I thought I'm gonna end up not going to uni. Thank God that I did end up going to uni. I thank God for his grace. And that's when I moved to Manchester for my uni. And I think that's the best thing. One of the best things that has ever happened to me. Moving to Manchester. I love Manchester. It has a special place in my heart. I feel like that city just brought good things into my life. When I finally moved to uni, that's when I felt like I could breathe, I could be myself, I could be happy compared to all the other institutions that I ever went to in my life. And shout out to the uni that I went to as well. I know it's not, the top unis in the world. It's not Oxford, it's not Cambridge, but it was still the best for me. Some people usually talk down on my uni. They say, oh, this Manchester South or this and that. Shame on you, okay? Shame on you, because you think you go to I don't know which top university, you're better. I don't know if people feel the need to bash unis like that. My uni is really good because they offered me with everything I needed. We had all the facilities, we had all the lab equipment, we had everything we needed to succeed. And even our ceremony, they gave us a really good graduation and a really good ceremony. So I'm a proud alumni, and I'm proud to say where I went to uni because it did what it was supposed to do for me, and I'm forever grateful. With that being said, now let's get into the gist of uni life. Mental health is such a big thing in uni. I feel like it's not talked about enough. It should be talked about more and more and more. And mental health is something that can hit anyone. It doesn't matter what your situation is. It can happen to you regardless. You could literally have designer clothes. You go to lectures in designer clothes and have your MacBook on lectures. You have lots of money. You don't even need to do part-time jobs. You have so many friends. You could have like the largest, biggest circle of friends. People around you every day, and still be affected by mental health. I feel like mental health presents itself in so many different ways, and people have to recognize that. For me, I went through that mental health thing. I would call it a mental health thing. I'm not gonna call it depression, because I feel like depression is a really strong word, and some people actually have a hard time with it, and it's not okay to just throw the word around and use it just anyhow. Some people really, really struggle with depression. It's best to seek medical help if you do go through depression in uni. In my case, I wouldn't say it was depression. I would say I just went through my mental health not being okay, and I would call this like a dark phase in my life, where I felt like I was battling with something I could not see. Everything was okay. I had food, I had somewhere to sleep, like everything was fine. But I was not just feeling okay. I felt like something was wrong. And this is what mental health does to you. It makes you feel like nothing is right, even though everything is okay. And in these times, I think is when I couldn't be bothered to do anything. I didn't want to go to lectures. I just wanted to stay in bed in darkness all day and night and do nothing. I would just be stuck in my room doing nothing. I didn't want to be productive. I didn't want to hear anything about school. It's where you feel really bad about being like that. You feel as if you're lazy because you're not doing any work, but it's not laziness, it's mental health. People usually mistake that for being lazy. Sometimes you might see that someone is not even taking care of themselves. They're not even cleaning themselves. Sometimes it's not being unhygienic or being, lazy. Sometimes it's just mental health, and this is what we need to talk about, and we need to recognize these things. It's really hard because you have to pull yourself out of that. The lectures are going to carry on. Life will go on as usual. The lectures will carry on. You're just gonna see assignments popping up, deadlines coming around, and until you snap yourself out of it, no one is going to come and tell you, hey, you're falling behind on your work. I think it's time you started getting back. The only thing that's gonna wake you up is the exam dates. You just be seeing exam on this day. And if you have nothing in your head because you've not been studying, you've not been catching up with your lectures and your assignments, then you start panicking. You might have people around you to encourage you and people around you to remind you what you're there for, what your goals are in uni. But if you don't pull yourself out of it yourself, then it's something that can be really hard to get out of, and it can spiral in a really negative and destructive way. And sometimes I know we find ways to cope with these feelings. For me, my destructive habit was just eating. I would just eat a lot. I would order lots of takeaway and just waste all my money on it. And yeah, that's very destructive, and it only makes it worse, really. If you're finding whatever destructive way you find of coping, it could be drinking or taking drugs, which I feel like that's on the extreme end, because it can be so hard to come back from that. Once you go the drugs route, it can be it can be challenging to get out of it. But for me, I think what really, really helped me was that I had a part-time job. So I'd be forced to get up for my part-time job. Even though I was deliberately missing lectures, I'd have no choice but to go to my part-time job, because I have to show up for it or I get fired and I need the money. So that helps me to get out of bed, to get out of the house, and and interact with other people, and at least refocus and bring my mind back to what was important. But this could be anything. I think even just taking a walk outside a few minutes in a day, listening to music, it can be so uplifting. But what I need you to remember is that this is a time where you'd have to be there for yourself. People can be there for you, but until you're there for yourself and you remind yourself why you're doing it and why you're there, then it can be really difficult and you can never be able to get out of it. And that being said, I think it's safe to say that not everyone is meant to go to uni. I would say even at my age, there's people who are far much ahead in life than I am, and they didn't have to go to uni. Of course, everyone's journey is different and you have to find what works for you. But I feel like today's society has made it seem like if you don't have a uni degree, then you're not that successful. But that's not true. That is just not true. I mean, for some courses and some fields, like my field in sciences, it's better for you to have that level of expertise that you get from uni. If it requires talent and passion mostly, then maybe uni is not necessary. But I really do have massive respect for people who drop out, and I'll tell you why. And I mean drop out in the sense where you're willing to accept that it's just not for you. You're willing to see that, and you love yourself enough to say, I'm not gonna keep doing this if it's something that I don't have a passion for. It saves you a lot of money. It saves you a lot of wasting your time just being there, rather than being there and completing your course. Maybe you're doing something that you don't even love, your head is not even into it, and then you end up with so much debt at the end of it. Or maybe you just end up not even using your degree because you wanted to stay in uni for the sake of it. And to be honest, people go to uni for a lot of many reasons. It could be parents pressuring you, or you just want to go there for the experience. That's what some people say. You go for the fun and the parties, or because you just need to show that you've gone to uni. There's always so many different cases, but I think it should be a matter of if it's really necessary, because it costs a lot of money. It really does. And if you're gonna end up with debt, at least let it be worth it. At least let it be something that you really want to do, and you wouldn't mind incurring that much debt. And even if you end up staying and finishing your course, I don't think that's the end of the world. If it's something that you didn't want to do, you can always start again. Life is a journey. Everyone is on a different path. Everyone is on their own unique path. I've said this before. So if you decide along the way, after you finished your course and you've gone into your said profession, and you're like, I'm not actually getting joy out of this, you can always reroute, you can always recourse. And it doesn't matter how old you are, trust me, it does not matter. You can still go back to school at 60. You can still go back to school at 50, because guess what? You're gonna be 50 anyway. I read somewhere a quote that said that if it's time that's the issue, then don't even let that bother you, because you'll always be at that age. But following your passion, there's no joy, there's no feeling that can compare to fulfilling your own passion in this life. Because what are we here for anyway in this life? We're here to live the best that we can, and do the things that we love. It's short. And now look, I'm turning into a motivation speaker. I think I was just speaking from my heart, and maybe I'll make a second part with like the do's and don'ts of uni. I don't know, but what do I know? This is just from my own book. Everyone is different. Everyone's experience is different. So you take what you can, like I said. You take the good, you leave the bad, you take whatever, and use it in the best way that you can. You know how they say nowadays that degrees are so easy to get, and anyone out there can get a degree because it's so common nowadays, everyone is getting it. But it still takes a lot of work. You still need to apply the pressure. Like for me, I had to I really did my best. I really wanted the first class, but I was 4 marks off of first class. but I know that I'm still proud of myself. I'm not beating up myself for it. I'm still very proud of myself because I put in the work, I put in the effort. I had to really push myself. Maybe if I'd pushed myself just a little bit harder, I would have gotten that first class. And priorities as well. People in uni have different priorities. You'll be surprised. We're all there to get a degree, we're all there to get a whatever, but people have really different priorities. Some might be there for networking only. They're not so much focused on their actual like degree, but rather networking with people and meeting new people. Others are just there to get the work experience, because some unis will offer work experience, so they just want to get that out of it, and they're not so much focused on the grade either. So if you know what your main priority is and you write down your priorities and you keep them in mind, then it will help you to act accordingly. If your priority is, I don't know, clubbing and you don't care for your grades, I mean, there's some people who are like that. So you go with what floats your boat. Make sure you like, make sure you comment if you can relate to whatever I've said. I know I have a few people here watching who have graduated or graduated before, whatever. Comment. And if you're my subscriber, come on, what are you doing not commenting and you're here watching? Come on. So I know I gained a few new subscribers when I was off for a bit, because I was off for a bit, obviously you know why now, because I was busy trying to get that degree, honey. So if you subscribe while I was off, make sure to also like, comment. Okay, I want to see your comments, and I'll see you in my next video, hopefully soon. I'm trying to be more regular and active on here, so hopefully soon. But I think the feedback that I get from this will help me be motivated more. I don't know, so let's see how it goes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.